shut your mouth broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback stacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host, Sirik. And I'm always joined by my co-host, Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
And we're going into week number 4. And we both just had victories. Congratulations to the Patriots. Congratulations to the Steelers. And we got some NFL news. We got some Chicago, Denver to talk about. We got some London games. We got some Jets news. We got our predictions, our upset specials. And of course, we're going to recap week 3. So, Ron, how do you feel about week 4?
I'm excited. I feel better than I did like earlier in the season about where our teams were headed. I feel much more confident now coming off of some wins.
I'm just glad that it wasn't pretty, but I'm just glad that we're in the win column.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about that in depth. Let's go and talk about NFL news for this week. And let's start out with the Jets, because I know that I don't know why we're talking about the Jets. It's probably because it's New York and there's so much drama going on. But where do you start with the Jets? I know that Zach Wilson, I don't even know what to say, because I feel like every other commentator has already said what's wrong with him.
Yeah. Completely lost his confidence. He's losing the confidence of the locker room. Sounds like he may have lost a few people already. Coach is going to lose, confidence too from their players if he doesn't make some sort of decision, right? On Zach Wilson. He's not playing well. He's costing them games. I'm not saying their losses are all on him, but he is just lost out there, right? Not making the right reads, not looking at guys that are wide open or looking at them and turning them down. He just looks like he's broken. I think that's the best way to explain it. And it's going to be a while before he can get any sort of confidence back and get back to be, starting eligible quarterback in this league.
So I know that Joe Namath, whoever, if you're our next Jet that used to play with him, you got a comment, you got an opinion, right? And he said that, you know what, this is a lost cause with Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's his year number 3, year 3, and he still hasn't figured it out. And I know that he's basically has a new offensive coordinator, that Hackett guy, did terrible in Denver. But obviously Rodgers loved him, so they brought him. Mm-hmm. Then he has all these receivers that Rodgers loves, but he has no connection with.
Right.
Maybe Gary Wilson, but what's it called? Lazard. Rodgers brought him. That dude, the old guy that Rodgers is like is a Randall Cobb. He's old, and I don't even know where to start. And you mentioned earlier that Robert Saleh might be losing the locker room. Yeah. So, I don't even know what to say. Do we just throw away this season?
That's the thing. The players, right? Especially the ones on defense, they're playing lights out for the most part. They don't want to throw away the season. They think that they can salvage the season if they had a quarterback who's competent, just to go out and not lose the game. That, who that is, I don't know, right? So there's a couple players that came out, their names came out, like Matt Ryan, for example.
Well, they just signed Trevor Siemian to the practice squad.
Right. They had to make a move anyways because, with the injury or whatever.
But then what? He doesn't know the offensive book, so what is going to do?
No one's going to know the playbook until they come in.
So is it going to be 2 weeks before he knows it? Is it going to be 3 weeks?
I don't even think it's going to be him. I'm not 100% sure it's Trevor Siemian.
Who's Zach Wilson's backup, though?
I have no idea.
It's like
I can't tell you.
I'm not at the top of my head. So it's like, who is gonna play? Because I feel like every game that goes by that they don't win, they just go to the basement.
Again, this is what I said last week. I think it was, right? And this is why I'm happy with Steelers and most of the decisions that they made, because if you look at up and down the roster, a guy goes down, we got someone behind him that we trust, right? So shame on the Jets for not having a backup plan at the most important position that you're comfortable with in the event Rodgers goes down, right? You went into the season knowing, right, or making a decision that if Rodgers falls, you're okay with Zach Wilson. If you weren't okay with him, you should have had somebody else back there. Doesn't have to be, a superstar, but you could have had somebody back there, and they didn't. They weren't prepared.
So Zach Wilson's backup is Tim Boyle out of Eastern Kentucky, and this is his 5th year. He's 28 years old, but looking at his stats, it's not like he hasn't gotten any play.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do? It's just a mess. Woody Johnson. What would you do? First of all, what I would do is just say, listen, guys, we're gonna win close games. Like, basically, they could have won against the Pats.
Right.
They could have. I mean, that game, 10-15 is not exactly like, high scoring. And I feel like, but they're not going to always face the Pats every week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, I don't know. And that offensive line, because I don't want to just blame Zach Wilson.
Right.
The offensive line is not that good. So going back to like week 1, Rodgers wouldn't be running for his life if the offensive line blocked. So this is it is a terrible, terrible situation.
Yeah, it is. And there's no easy fix. So we'll see what happens.
The other set of news is what's going on in Chicago and Denver. And I know I don't want to step over your picks, but that Denver-Chicago game, is it a loser leaves town? And I mean by loser, I mean like, do they change QBs, both teams?
No.
Do they, is Champagne, I mean, Champagne is locked in, but is the Denver head coach locked in?
Yeah.
What about the Chicago head?
Why not?
I mean, do you feel like this is Justin Fields' fault?
Mostly.
Because I feel like...
Let me start. I would say the GM's fault, right, for drafting Justin Field. And then certainly some of the coaches' fault for not developing Justin Fields, right? They up until this year, they hadn't put a good quality team around Justin Fields, right? He had lacked any sort of weapons for his first couple of years or whatever. Now they try to surround him with players, but he hasn't developed. And Justin Fields himself, and seems to place blame on others, and he's not, I think, holding himself accountable. And that's what I think good leaders do. So a lot of it is on him as well. But I don't see, if it doesn't work out with Justin Fields, I don't know how you can throw everything on just the coach, and when it was just not a good pick.
I just feel like Chicago Bears as an organization, they just failed the fans, they failed the city, they have a bunch of picks,
right,
from trading players, and they're supposed to have a good defense, supposedly, but it's just Justin Fields, I don't know, it's terrible what's going on.
If Denver isn't a better, look at John Elway's moves. People, in Denver are not happy. They've been searching for a quarterback. They thought they had him. With Russell Wilson, gave that huge contract, and Russell hasn't played well. And here comes Sean Payton to save the day. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter how great of a coach you are. If your player is not performing, what can you do?
Yeah, it's just, the thing is this: is it more fixable in Denver than it is in Chicago?
I think both of these teams end up having a losing record. That's not breaking any news, but I think at least on the Sean Payton side, he's not going anywhere. Even if Russell Wilson turns out not to be the answer, and they gotta,
go to Stidham.
Yeah, Right. And accept blame for what a poor decision it was to trade for him. I don't think Sean Payton is going anywhere because he's a great coach, right? He has history behind him, so I think he'll survive. Now, whether or not he's surviving with Russell Wilson at the quarterback position in 2024, 2025 or whatever, or if they're out looking for another quarterback, I don't know.
So if you're Chicago and you say, okay, things are not going to work with Justin Fields, do you just throw the season away and say, Caleb Williams, we're going to be we're going to surround ourselves with Caleb Williams as a number one pick?
I would try to win, right? And if I can't win and I end up with a top 2-3 pick, I'm making a decision on Caleb Williams and I'm taking him, right? Because Fields would be going into his fourth year and you would have to make a tough decision with him anyways, right? After the fourth year, do you tag him or whatever? Or do you sign him to a long-term deal? And if you don't feel comfortable that that's your player, you got to move on.
I feel like Chicago, and there's a lot of bad teams out there. There's, the Panthers don't look that good. Denver definitely don't look that good. So I feel like they're going to have competition for that number one spot in the draft.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you can't miss. No one should ever miss your first round pick, right? And if you miss the first round pick with a quarterback, it's hard to recover. Look at the Jets. We just finished talking about the Jets. They had Zach Wilson, with their top pick, and then he didn't work out. They're like, oh, this guy's not it. Let's bring in Rodgers and really go for it.
Because they already gotten rid of Mitch Trubisky, and he was a number one pick.
Right.
And they got rid of him, bringing Justin Fields, and
it's hard to find that franchise quarterback. I love Kenny Pickett. There's still, it's 50-50. You can go either way with him.
Yeah. The other thing that we want to talk about really quickly is these London games. They start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, which I don't have a problem with. Football in the morning, that is great. Have your coffee. Listen, I know this is a American football podcast, but Saturdays when the English Premier League is on, I love it. So the fact that these games are 9:30 in the morning, Sundays, I love it. What I don't love is the team. Jacksonville against the Falcons, and then the following week, Jacksonville again. At least they have a decent team against the Bills. Ron, what's ultimately what the NFL is trying to do?
So I think there was some news this offseason, right, about Prime wanting to get more competitive, watchable Thursday night games. And I think, and I'm trying to find all the Thursday schedules this year. Yeah, they are. So because they're supposed to have some decent games.
I mean, this Thursday's game is going to be decent.
Yeah. So this Thursday you got Lions and Packers, right? So just looking ahead. Commanders, Bears, not so good. Chiefs, Broncos. Like if you would have said in the offseason, hey, Chiefs, Broncos, you would think it would be a good game, but no. Jags, Saints, Bucks, Bills, Steelers, Titans. That should be a decent game.
That Steelers side, but why is it? I know that they're trying to do is have every team play on Thursday. Yeah, every team, but it's like fine, but the matchups they just don't work sometimes.
I would get rid of them.
Yes.
Heck, I almost say get rid of Monday night, to be honest with you, but Thursday for sure get rid of.
I like Monday night games. I just don't like the two games concept.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, ABC, how greedy are you?
Yeah.
Because you already own ESPN, so you want two games?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just money grabbing NFL for you. All right, so let's go into week 3 because both our teams were victorious. Ron, we had New England at New York Jets. You went with 16-13. I went with 13-12. to 10. What was the final score?
15-10. We were both like real damn close. Right? We thought it'd be a defensive struggle. The Jets defense, I thought, would be able to like keep the Patriots in check, and they did for the most part. Having said that, Jets offense is terrible, like we just talked about. So no surprise with the Patriots winning, and no surprise with the score to me.
What did you think of the Patriots offense? Because the defense played pretty well, but what did you think of the offense overall?
I thought it's what I expected. I thought they played pretty dang well. They used Gesicki. They used Juju a little bit. He looked a little bit old, to be honest with you. They still lack a deep number one receiver for sure. They got to fix that at some point. And then the running game, no one's going to run against the Jets. So I'm not surprised they weren't able to run. That doesn't necessarily scare me.
No, they were able to run because they racked up 157 rushing yards. So, they were able to run against the Jets. And Zeke Elliott, he's like rejuvenated. I don't know what happened. He just wasn't in shape yet, or I don't know what it is, but they ran pretty well. He ran 16 carries for 80 yards. He ran pretty well.
Zeke looked good.
Yeah. Stevenson didn't look good. He got 19 carries
for 59 yards. And if you look at the average for the team, right, they ran a lot, 40 rushes, but 3.9 per carry. I guess that's okay. But it's still difficult to run against the Jets. I think Zeke just has looked much healthier this year. Going back to your question, I think the Patriots offense, I think they're fine.
I think that this is going to be their MO for the rest of the year, unless there's some rumors that the Denver might give up Judy for anything for nothing, basically. Those are just rumors, but I think that they just need somebody that can stretch the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that Mac sometimes did try to go deep a couple of times, but there was nobody there.
Yeah.
Either he overthrew them or there was a PI that wasn't called. And we'll talk about that. Maybe we should talk about the PI, because what is going on with the refs this year?
It's
now calling PI, offensive PI, defensive PI. It's almost like they have blinders on. They like, I didn't see anything.
It's been terrible. The officiating, and the Steelers game was awful. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The officiating just has been bad. It hasn't been good, but it's been bad. I feel like we talk about this like every year, and it has not gotten any better. And I feel like there's like very little to no accountability from the NFL as far as how bad it has been. They just come out and say, "Oh, we made a mistake here and there," or whatever. But that's about it. I don't know what else to say about the officiating.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But to talk about this game, there was some key things that they didn't do in the previous two games. They didn't turn the ball over, and Mac didn't throw 40, 50 times. They only threw 29, and I think if you keep Mac around the 20 to 30 range, he'll be okay.
Is he a dirty player?
No, that's just exaggeration.
Gotta ask that. Is he? Are you sure?
Exaggeration. I think that
Why is he always involved in these type of
because I think that he's clean cut. I think the image of him being a clean cut guy and him doing all this football, what he calls it, football stuff. I think you're caught off guard. You're like, oh, whoa.
You know what I don't like about that whole situation? None of his players came. I felt like none of his players came to the rescue. If that was the Steelers, do you remember what happened when Mason Rudolph, and the Steelers don't really like Mason Rudolph that much, but when Garrett went off on him, all the players jumped in and basically started the same thing I've seen with Big Ben. You don't touch the quarterback. You don't let anyone touch your quarterback. This is the
thing about New England. We don't get into media spouts. And I feel like
on the field, they should have done more to protect.
I feel like this is something that the media just runs with it, and they have to ask a player, oh, so what happened in that scrum? Oh, he grabbed my nuts. Oh, wow, he did? Nobody else talks about that in New England because it's not I feel like that's sore loser talk.
Yeah.
Sore loser talk. So if the Jets lost a game, so now they have to change the narrative. What about no? Mac Jones grabbed. I almost didn't have any kids.
Yeah.
When you look at the play,
I just wish someone when Sauce Gardner threw him, I wish someone would have just clocked.
Yes,
Gardner,
I do. I
right
agree.
Over the head,
I
right
agree.
in front of the official. That's what the line was supposed to do.
Devontae Parker came to the rescue, and I thought he was gonna throw some haymakers, and
They
he
should have
didn't.
been haymakers.
He didn't. He just said, "Oh," he just walked away. I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
wow."
What does that say about the team and whether or not they like Mac Jones?
I think that the team is still like trying to figure this dude out.
Mm-hmm.
If Bill Belichick hasn't vouched for him,
yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, I think he's not gonna get an extension. To be honest, that's my feeling. After the 5 years, I think he has a player option, but after that, I just don't see it.
Yeah, Mac Jones has looked pretty good to me.
No, he's been good, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. Now, if he starts winning and he wins the playoffs, I'm not saying he's gonna get a Super Bowl. He starts winning the playoffs, then things change.
Right.
But I think I heard a stat that the Patriots are 25-25 since Tom Brady left. 500 is not gonna cut it, and I think that
take away all of last year. What's his record? And I say that because I think, again, I feel like they try to sabotage him last year. But if you just take away last season, I think he's looked pretty good.
no, he's looked good, but not good enough. Is what I'm trying to say. Like he's just not. He's just teetering in that stepping over the line and winning games. So we'll see, and we'll talk about our picks next. Ron, let's talk about the Pittsburgh at Las Vegas. You went 17-14 Pitt. I went 20-17 Pitt. What was the final score?
23-18 Steelers.
So Steelers, I told you that they want to pass a 20-point threshold.
Yeah, a little surprised.
Why are you surprised? The Las Vegas defense is terrible.
I'm surprised the offense looked okay. And they didn't look great. They looked okay. They still had, I think, like 4 or 5 3-and-outs, if I'm not mistaken. Kitty almost threw an interception. It was a miscommunication. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. They missed some blocks. Najee was a struggle for him. He was getting tackled in the backfield. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to grow and get better. Having said that, great throw by Kenny on his 2 touchdown passes, one deep to Calvin Austin, the other to Freiermuth. It's a step in the right direction. I want to see more. They got to keep getting better.
I like the fact that they got in the red zone, they scored. Yeah, those 105 yards it's like a labor for them to get that rushing over a century. But it's just, the penalties they have to clean up a little bit. I think that they were basically gonna score over 20 points, the Raiders, and then the Raiders had a chance to tie the game.
Well, the stupid officials, right? The officiating at the end of that game was just horrible. Some of the ridiculous calls that were being made, especially the roughing the quarterback, like when Mika got the sack. That was just terrible. But it is what it is. We did what we needed to. We were playing prevent defense a little bit too early. That's we kind of let them get back into a groove. I think defensively the unit's looking really good, even with our injuries. And then offensively, if we can continue to gel, and by the end of the season, week 12, 13, 14, 15, we start to put up 23, 24, 25 points every week, then this is a playoff team, a team that can actually not just get to the playoffs, but actually do well in the playoffs.
Well, I have them winning the division because I think that, the defense, the Raiders, they got 4 sacks with the defense. Steelers, got 4 sacks. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I like this defense. They had a couple of turnovers, I think the Raiders did, and none for the Steelers. So I like this defense a lot. I think that, next week it's going to be a real test because I think, maybe Houston is sneaky. I don't know. We don't know. It's, out of all the quarterbacks that were taken, Houston's quarterback is the one that looks the best.
Yeah, well, he has some weapons around him too. Houston, I'll say the coaching staff there has been good. They've been competitive, for the last 2 years. The record might not show it, but the games have been competitive. So I like what they're doing there in Houston. They're 4 or 5 years away, I think, but they're definitely headed in the right direction.
Let's go look at our upset specials. Ron,
we got killed here, huh?
Ron, you went Philly at Tampa 24-27, but Philly won 25-11. I went Buffalo at Washington 14-17, and they got demolished 37-3. So Ron, Tampa is definitely not with the Eagles level of play.
No.
And they have a good defense.
They had, they listen, they missed some chances for sure in this game. The touchdown throw to Mike Evans, I don't know if the guy deflected it, but Evans seemed to have just dropped a touchdown. So you can't leave plays like that out on the field. They weren't able to run the ball at all, which I thought would be tough, but it was like worse than, it was bad. It was really bad. So
they weren't running the ball and they weren't really pressuring Hurst. I mean, one play I saw, he had all day to pass.
Yeah, but they got him to get two interceptions, right? And they held him for the most part in check running, 10 rushes for 28 yards. We just couldn't offensively. I say we. I'm still going back to my Buck days, but the Bucks just could not score points. And our buddy was at the game, right? Steve was at the game, and we told him to wrap it up.
Third quarter, right?
Just go home. Just go. They're not coming back, and sure enough, they didn't.
Yeah, because Baker Mayfield looked terrible. 146 yards. That's not going to cut it against the Eagles.
I don't think it looked that bad. I just think, the Eagles defense is just that good. They force you to make tough throws under duress. And when you're playing a good defensive team, you got to execute, right? You can't drop passes.
Well, he did fumble. So, yeah. He fumble, interception. You just can't do that against the Eagles because they'll capitalize. Yeah, they'll capitalize. Washington, I was gung-ho about them, and the Bills came into town and just whooped them. Yeah. Whooped them good.
They did.
They couldn't even muster up like anything on offense. That dude, Sam Howell, just looked out of his element. I don't know what else to say. They looked terrible. They looked heavy. Sam Howell, 4 interceptions. They made the defense look like the 85 Bears. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that one had me nervous. I remember I thought about going to that game, and then I remember what Washington's defense gave up the previous week. I was like, no. I can't see it.
No. So do you think Ron Rivera makes it the whole year, or he gets let go?
No, he'll make it the whole year. They're not firing him, but I just don't think he's the right person for that team.
Yeah, it's just disappointing with the upset specials. Ron, so let's go on to top 5 power pick. Power rankings. Ron, who do you have?
All right, so for this week, I got San Francisco 49ers at 1. I got Philly at number 2, Miami at 3, Detroit at 4, and I still got the Ravens in it, although I got them dropping to number 5.
Yeah, I basically have the same teams except for the Ravens. I think KC snuck in there. Detroit's still in there. I know, even though they have 1 loss, but the top 3 teams, San Francisco, Miami, and Philly. What are you gonna say? They're undefeated. Miami, who just laid down the smack against Denver.
Yes.
And let me just say, no. Let me say this. No. Hold on. I have a bone to pick with you because I told you I was watching the CBS pregame and FanDuel. I know Boomer Science and is just reading off the teleprompter. Not like can do anything, but he was like, "Oh yeah, the Denver running back, he's gonna have over 100 yards against Miami for sure." FanDuel, book it. And I was just like, did FanDuel just? What happened to last week's game? And what did you say? You thought, "Oh, Waddle is out. This might be an upset." I was like, "What? Have you seen what Miami's doing?"
I did say that. I thought
I could read what you said.
Out that they may.
Backtrack because I want you to backtrack.
But I also said,
okay.
Listen, this is a ridiculous off, right?
You said all that?
Yes, right. I said last week in our podcast, they're one of the top offensive teams in the league, hands down. There's no question about it. And I said Tua is hands down probably the most accurate quarterback, right? Did I not say that? From 20 to 30 yards. Outside of that, not so much. Their offense,
but I know their offense is impeccable, but. Right. Maybe this week they'll have him credit, but the defense is actually pretty good. I know that
defense is good
that
too.
First week they gave 30 points to the Chargers, but
right.
The Chargers, they're like another elite offense.
Yeah.
So the fact that they laid their smack down on the Pats and then Denver comes into town, and I was like, I think this game was 7 points. I don't know what the spread was, but I was just like, this is going to be a royal smackdown. And I even said, I think this might be Wilson's last game because I was like, I never expected them to score 70 points.
I did not expect. I thought Denver, for whatever reason, maybe it's my faith in their coach. I thought they would be able to keep it respectable, but no, they got dump trucked. And it just goes to show you, right, that offensive system, the schemes, one is great because it doesn't matter if you got a track team out there. You can have any other players. If you can scheme players open, which, their coach does, that's all you need. So the scheme's great. And then you add on top of that the athletes that the Dolphins have. They can go from, 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, right? Any play, any time they touch the ball, there's a risk and chance of them breaking it for a long touchdown because the guys are that fast. So,
and I know it's kind of early in the year, what Miami's doing. I don't know if they're I haven't seen an offense like this since probably the St. Louis when they have Kirk Warner and all those receivers, and they have what was the running back now that he came out of the backfield. He caught so many passes. Marshall Faulk. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I hope they can keep it up.
Yeah,
because they're breaking records, and you were right. Picking them to win the division, I can see it now.
Absolutely.
It is materializing. However,
there's a caveat, though, right? Tua has to stay healthy.
Yes,
period.
Yes. And I think they have a good test this weekend. They face against Buffalo. It's going to be in Buffalo, so they're going to dodge a bullet on the coldness because it's damn cold in Buffalo in December. But they're going to dodge that, and I just feel like, who knows? This might be a 60 point game for both teams.
Yeah, no one's playing defense this game.
No one. This is incredible. I definitely want to watch this game. I think this is a 1:00 game, and I'm definitely gonna watch that game. But I would have put money on FanDuel. Unfortunately, FanDuel doesn't work in Florida. Mm-hmm. But I was like, if they're giving me this kind of spread, they're like, oh, we guarantee that the Denver running back is like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So definitely, I would even put them in I want to put them at a top one team, but I just feel like San Francisco, they have an all around team. So that's why they're number one.
Yeah, and going back to the Ravens, you were asking me earlier why I have a Ravens still in there, even though they lost. They had 9 players out this week, including one of their running backs, their center, Odell Beckham. I'm not that surprised they lost, even though it's to a Colts team that had a backup quarterback playing. I think with these injuries, there's something to that because they've had a lot of injuries last year too, right? They got to figure that out, how to keep their team, their players healthy. I see that they're starting to get some of those guys back this week, and they'll need it. What were you saying? They're playing Cincinnati this week? No, the Browns. I think they got this week, so they're going to need some of those guys back. So health is a concern. I think when they're at their full health, they still are one of the better teams in the AFC.
But, if they lose this game against Cleveland, I don't want to see them in your top 5.
No, they won't be.
Because I feel like this is a challenge. And it's not like Cleveland played horrible last week. I think that they won that game. They laid this smack down. And this is another good game that
I'd like to see. I wish they were healthy. I'd like to see Odell in this game, and he won't most likely be playing. Yeah. I need to see the tight end Andrews in this game. We'll see if he plays. I like to see the center play. You need your starting center to go against the Cleveland D line. So
injury bugs. I feel like the Ravens are always plagued by injuries. Always. So do they need to change their staff, whether it's like conditioning and all that stuff?
I have no idea.
I don't know what's going on, but I feel like this is another good game, and you don't want to lose a division game, especially to the Browns. Right. So let's go into week number 4 because Ron, I took a page out of your book and I'm double dipping this week for week 4. New England at Dallas. Dallas is favored. It's a 7-point spread. Ron, what you got?
I got Dallas winning at home. They should win. I got it 24-20 as my final score. I do got New England covering that spread. I think New England defense is decent. I think they're really, really good, and they'll give Dak some problems. But Dak and Dallas cannot afford to lose again at home. So, I think the Cowboys are going to get them.
I think New England can beat Dallas. I went 20-17 because remember we were talking about last week about head coaches calling plays, whether on defense or offense. And Dallas actually does have an offensive coordinator. Brian Schottenheimer is actually the offense coordinator. And they were interviewing him and it looked like he never seen football in his life. Like the way he was talking, I'm like, aren't you like the coach's son? You should know this stuff. And they were comparing him to Kellen Moore from last year. And they were like, yeah, there was a lot more deep passes last year than this year. And there was a lot of checkdowns. So yes, they were like the top team when it came to the red zone last year. This year, last year they were in the 70s. This year, they're in the 40s. A lot of checkdowns. For some reason, that defense you can run against.
Look at you checking out some stats.
Listen, I'm checking the analytics. The analytics don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
Into a win.
I think that they're going to minimize Micah Parsons. He's going to be affecting the play no matter what. Yeah. But that, it's not to the point where the Titans were like following Miles everywhere he went. But I feel like they're gonna, I feel like this could be a game that they can steal. And if they go 2-2 after these 4 games, I feel really good about them. So I have them winning 20-17, but we'll get to the upset special.
And you had them winning just, during the preseason too. So you had them winning against Al. I had them losing. I had them starting off 1-3. And then they got some easy schedule after that.
Yeah, they are easy games.
I think it's just going to be tough. I think these teams are closer than people think. I think the Patriots defense will be able to keep Dallas in check for a little bit. Belichick knows how to take away the top players. So he'll be able to do some of that. But I think in general, Patriots just won't have enough to finish them off.
And actually, when I look back at our roster review, I had them losing this game, and Larry and Steve had them winning.
Okay.
So, but I changed my mind. I think that they can actually win this game. I think Arizona has laid down what you can do. Just basically keep the ball away from Dak. And even if he Dak has a ball, I think he's good for a turnover. Let's go to the next game. Pittsburgh. They're playing Houston at Houston. Pittsburgh is favored by 3 points. Ron, what you got?
I got Pittsburgh winning 28-16. I put 28 points.
That's a lot of points.
It is for the Steelers and their offense. I think I actually, when I first wrote a score, it was like 24 to like 17 or something like that. And then I was like, you know what? I got a little bit more confidence in their offense. Why not get to 28? Maybe their defense helps them with another touchdown or something like that. But Steelers should win this game. Surprise, the spread is only 3. Yeah, they got some weapons, some Tank Dell, and some of the other young receivers on their team. 2 offensive linemen missing for this game for Houston. And you're going against probably the best, made next to San Francisco, the best defensive line. TJ Watt leading the league in sacks. I can see him going off for a double-digit sacks. I can see Highsmith getting some sacks, betting some of those other guys. It's going to be a rough day for Houston. I'll be shocked if they get to more than 16 points.
I also got the Steelers winning 24-17. I think they definitely scored 20 or more points. And I think Houston can be frisky at times. I think that, as we mentioned earlier, I think Houston has the best quarterback out of all the first round draft picks. Even though Richardson shows promise, but I guess he's back at practice, so I guess he'll be okay. But I feel like Houston plays hard. I feel like that division is, with Jacksonville losing, Titans are
a mess.
Mm-hmm. And this could be their year. I don't think you can win that division with 8 games. 8 wins get you that division.
They're not winning the division.
I just don't feel like Jacksonville has it this year. I just don't. I think they might be taking a step back, and who knows about the Titans. But anyways, yeah, Pittsburgh wins this game. Ron, who you got for your upset special?
It was a tough one to choose. I went with Chicago at Denver. We talked about both of these teams earlier. Games in Chicago, Denver favored by 3, is it now?
Yeah, 3 points.
Okay, so yeah, I went...
No, 3.5 actually. So yeah. it just met the threshold.
I may have put 3, but it's 3.5. I got Chicago winning 26-24.
In that game, and we talked about that, it's like the winless team. Yeah. One team has to win this game.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they tie.
Can you imagine?
I can just see Chicago riding. I can see just fans just throwing things in the field and just, please God, don't let there be a tie. But I don't see Chicago winning this game, and you have them winning. I just don't. I think that Champagne is going to throw the kitchen sink at them, and Justin Fields I just don't see them winning.
It just takes Fields, though, to break 1 or 2 runs and, to take over the game that way.
But he's already come out and said that they're not letting me do that. He's already said that. He said that the offense is made for me to stay in the pocket. He's not allowed to run. Of course, if he gets sacked, he's going to run. But,
yeah,
I feel like 2 years ago, there were plays made where he just ran. Yeah. He just kept the ball and ran.
Yeah.
He said those plays are gone. Those plays are gone.
Yeah. Well.
And he had to walk it back. My upset special is my New England over Dallas. We already talked about that. I just have a good feeling, and all the other games I didn't like at all.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other games, also, when I look at the spread, they're it's hard for me to find a game that's over 3.5 that I like.
Yeah, it's been like that for 2 weeks in a row now.
Everything is 3 or 2.5 or 2 or 1. That Chicago Denver game I stayed away from because I just didn't like. But
I didn't like the Vikings Panthers. That's a 4-point spread. I just don't see the Panthers. They're 0-3 too. So how could they? Even though they're at home, I don't see them pulling out a victory there against the Vikings.
Well, it's actually, it's a 4-point spread, but the Vikings, I just don't know. And I think the Panthers quarterback is back this week. So, but again, I wasn't going to wasn't going to pick the Panthers. I don't feel confident at all with the Panthers. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, anything else that you want to share with the NFL fan base out there?
Anything else I want to share? Let's talk about this Sunday and birthday celebrations on Sunday during a football Sunday.
Well, I sent that text with a disclaimer. Did your wife read the disclaimer?
She did.
Okay,
She did.
so you're not obligated to show up.
Oh, I will be there. I'm not going to miss the birthday party. However, come 1 o'clock, you might find me in front of my own television watching the Steelers play.
Listen, if you come for an hour and then you leave, that's fine. I know that when 4:30 comes, I'm gonna walk out of the room. There is a matchup on Sunday night that the Chiefs at Jets.
That's gonna be a massacre.
Why don't they flex that game?
They could, right? They could take. What other game would they put there though? Patriots.
I mean, they could put the Patriots and Cowboys, America's team, both of them, quote unquote. So why not just move that game? Because let's be honest, who's watching that game?
Yeah.
And then I guess the Seahawks Giants, that can be competitive, but it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You flex games before. Why don't you do that? That's definitely one that you need to flex. I know it's early in the season, but come on, guys. Flex that game.
And you never know. Maybe Zach Wilson surprises us and leads them to a victory. Who knows?
I seriously doubt that for 1 second. All right, so we got our picks in. We got, hopefully the Steelers win that game and the Patriots win the game, and then we have an uneventful birthday party on Sunday. So let's just be happy.
Yeah.
And Sunday's gonna be October 1st, so spooky season's here.
Yep.
I already got the Halloween decorations out, so let's just do it.
Yep.
Let's just do it. It's football weather. Well, not for us.
Yeah.
Up north.
Up north.
Up north. Yeah. So in that case, I say peace.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for listening and supporting us. You can find us at The Sim Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, or you can email us at shutympodcast@gmail.com.